right, everyone. Sorry about that. I think we'll get started. The meeting is being recorded, so people will be able to check it out kind of after the fact. And then if nothing else, we also do have the fall meeting that we had that's available that people can watch as well. So just some introductions. My name is Mike Thill. I'm the Community League Director, and then also the kind of main contact point for the Sheboygan community teams. So each of the, I guess, participating communities in the community league, we have Port Washington, Oostburg, Cedar Grove, Belgium, Kohler, Sheboygan Falls, Sheboygan, Howards Grove, Manitowoc, and Elkhart Lake. So there are 9 communities participating, and each of the different communities has a has either a club president or leadership group. So just seeing maybe if people write in the chat, maybe write the community that you're coaching for, just in the chat. Okay. I know not everybody is from Sheboygan. I know that on the call. Sarah, you're Manitowoc, right? I think maybe Sarah's there or not, but all right. So, but any event, just want to thank all of you for volunteering to coach. I think for Sheboygan, many of you are some of the newer coaches this spring. But just want to thank all of you for volunteering your time to coach. Should be a fun and rewarding experience. Maybe just to jump into things a little bit. So the fall season has happened. Teams were formed in the fall, and then we had spring registration open for new players this spring. Across all of the participating communities, there were right around 270 new players that joined and participated. So we have some new teams, some players that have not played before, some players that are rejoining. And so tonight, we'll just go through some kind of common things that are common to the entire league, all age groups. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll kind of go through the grades 1 through 4 rule modifications and just see if anybody has any questions about those. Just some of the common things, and I had sent to all of you in Sheboygan, I'd passed along to the other community leaders, just some kind of general season notes. The spring schedules have been posted and they're available on the website. I can share my screen and just make sure that everybody knows how to get there and how to navigate around. But so everything is on Lakeshore United's website, the league website. So I'll share my screen. Okay. So can people see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So this is lakeshoreunited.org. And then we have the league schedule just right down here that people can click on. And then for more information, just under our programs, we have community soccer. And then under resources, we have referees where we have quite a bit of information. So if I click on the game schedule, oops. Yeah. It'll usually take a little while to load. But when it does, how it's arranged is your team name that you've been assigned. The team name, you just have to click on that particular division. So if we'd go into first grade boys, and we'll see that there are 3 flights. So there are 29 total teams in the first grade division, 3 flights, and the flights have been grouped. Teams have been grouped based on their fall win-loss record. So the kind of the teams that won most of their games are in a pool together. The teams that won some of the games together, some of their games are in a pool together. And then the teams that didn't win that many games, or the brand new teams, they're in a pool together. And it's not necessarily like A has the teams that won all of them, and then B in the middle. I did see at least, I think, one pool where that wasn't the case. It was the pool. It's not, flight A is not necessarily the teams that won the most games. I think I'd seen in one instance, but to make it easy, you'll see all the games down here. What you can do is if you just pick out your team and click on it, what will happen is it will just load your team's schedule. Okay, so down here it would be all of the games for this team, and that's kind of a nice, easy way to get a snapshot of your schedule instead of having to go week by week and pick out your team's game. The other thing is all games are on Saturdays. That we don't have anything during the week, and teams should have 1 game a weekend. The location of where the game is, that's right over here. And if you want to know what where that field is, the directions, you would just click on it, and then it would bring you to some information that would share the Cedar Grove Athletic Complex, Field 1. And then I think if you, this is the address right here. And if we clicked on, let's say, any other one, we clicked on Optimus Park, and it would give the address for that. And then I think if you do a Google map, that'll kind of plug in the address for you. So hopefully that makes sense. Are there any questions with respect to the schedule, how to find your team's games? Okay, so no. And then one of the things that you'll also note is that the games have a game number associated with them. I guess also, if you want to know your the other team's coach, like coach contact information, if you need to get in touch with the coach, then you could click on it, and then it would show their information up on top. But there's a game number here. And one of the things that we'd like to try new this spring is for coaches, like after the game is over, I'll provide a link that people can use just their phone to access, where they can essentially record the score. And we're not looking for like 5-0. We're just looking for who won the game. So 1-0 for a win, and maybe 1-1 or 0-0 for a tie. That's really all that we're looking for. And that helps us to kind of keep track of kind of the win-loss records, and would like to see, just because collecting that information at the conclusion of the fall season is a bit challenging. It takes a fair amount of time to go and do that and get everybody to respond. So I'll send out more information on the particulars of that. Let's see. But then otherwise, so here's the game schedule. If we pop back out here, and you want to find the rules are under the referee section of the website. And there's referee training that is provided. There is their availability, if people want to say when they're available to work, getting paid. But then the rules are right down here. And we'll go through kind of the rules first, but grade 1 through 4 rule modifications are here. And then the full league rules right here, where you click on that and then be able to see that information. Okay. Let's see. So the season is April 15th. It starts, so not this weekend, but next Saturday, and runs through June 3rd. There are no games on Memorial Weekend. If you don't see a game for your team on the schedule for a particular Saturday, it generally means you're on bye. There's an odd number of teams, so you wouldn't have a game that Saturday. Let's see. As far as whether or not games might be canceled, that communication would come from the league. I would work with each of the respective community leaders to understand the playability of their fields. So usually in spring, there's some discussion, are fields too soggy or wet, or to play on, that they present a safety hazard or risk kind of damaging the fields. So that discussion would occur ahead of time, and an announcement would be made a couple of hours before the first games that Saturday. So if there's ever a question, reach out to the other coach, reach out to your community leader or club president, and they'll be able to answer that question as far as what things are. If things are not canceled, always make sure to show up to your game. That's really important. And I guess right now we've had quite a bit of rain, but optimistic with some of the warmer weather that the grass is starting to grow, and it's going to be able to soak up that rain. So I'm optimistic about being able to play on the 15th. The other thing I mentioned in the email that was sent to people was recommended practice activities. So people are free to run their own practice activities, but the Lake Shores has put out some practice activities that teams can run, if coaches can run, if they're not quite sure what to do, and they're recommended. So, actions, referees. Something else just that I put in the email that went out to everybody is referees, just being kind to them, respectful to them. It is just not acceptable to, if you're frustrated with the referee's performance, or you feel like they're not calling fouls and they should call fouls, that's something to not yell at them about. It's something that you can just voice, but kind of in a respectful tone, just a calm tone. It's something maybe to just mention to your club president after the fact, and they would get in touch with me. Similarly, the referees are instructed to let me know. I also serve as the referee coordinator for all of the games hosted in communities other than Elkhart Lake and Manitowoc. They have their own people that are assigning referees, but just make sure to let your players' parents know as well, not to be yelling at the referees. So can either encourage them and help them grow in their development, or by yelling at them, it's they're not going to come back to referee. Okay. Any questions so far? If you do, maybe just write it in the chat. Okay. So I think we'll kind of go through the grade 1 through 4 rules. Okay, can people see the rules document that I'm sharing? Or is it not doing it? Yes, okay, perfect. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. We can see a little bit easier. So in grades 1 through 4, it's a very small-sided game. First grade plays 3v3, including a goalkeeper. All these numbers are including a goalkeeper. First and second, and then second grade plays 4v4, including a goalkeeper. So it's one goalkeeper, 3 on the field for each team. And then third and fourth grade play 5v5. So 4 people on the field, 4 players on the field plus 1 goalkeeper. So then kind of just walking through, there's only 1 referee that you can expect in a grades 1 through 4 game. The goalkeeper must wear a different color shirt penny than both teams. So if it's blue playing green, the referee or the goalkeeper cannot wear blue or green. They should wear, some other color. So I think many teams have pennies. Goalkeeper could wear a penny, or they could just wear a different color shirt. That would be completely fine. Goalkeeper can use their hands inside of the goal area, and it's marked by an arc. So the layout of the field is that we have a rectangle shape. So first grade and second grade are 20 yards wide, 30 yards long. And the field is divided in half by a center line. There's a center circle, and then there's an arc in front of the goal. The goal is for first and second grade is 5 feet high and 10 feet wide. For third and fourth grade, it is 6 feet high and 12 feet wide. So it's kind of a smaller goal that make it defensible. So that arc is where the goalkeeper can use their hands, and that'll be right in front of the goal. The arc, and I think, yeah, it'll be listed here. But for first and second grade, the arc is 4 yards, so four steps. In third and fourth grade, it's 5 yards. The goalkeeper, so they can use their hands, but they're not allowed to punt the ball. They can throw, dribble, or pass it. Note, the opposing team does not have to retreat to the center line when the goalkeeper touches the ball with their feet or picks it up with their hands. So we'll get to it, but the goalkeeper, well, no, we'll get to the retreating back to the center line. So when the goalkeeper gets it, they can throw, dribble, or pass it. The opposing team can kind of stay right where they are to defend. So the next one, the goalkeeper may move about the field as any other player. They do not have to stay in front of the goal. So they can be out within the field, but the goalkeeper does need to be designated by wearing a separate color shirt. And so that's, some people will say, hey, their goalkeeper wasn't staying in front of the goal. Well, they don't have to, but they should have on a separate colored shirt just to designate them as a goalkeeper, the person that can use their hands. When the ball goes out on the sideline, it is a dribble or a pass restart, no throw-ins. So if blue team kicks the ball out on the sides, then it's orange team's ball. And orange team does not do a throw-in, but they put the ball down on the ground. And as soon as it's stopped and stationary, they can become dribbling or pass it in or kick it into a teammate. Any questions so far? Okay.
I got one quick. Does the goalkeeper have to be the same kid for the whole game?
They do not. So that's a good question. So the goalkeeper, it's encouraged to have the goalkeeper be a different kid throughout the course of the game. So probably most usual would be to have a different player be the goalkeeper each quarter. And for first through fourth grade, it's quarters. So first and second grade, and this is in the general rules document. First and second grade is 4 10-minute quarters. with just a short break in between each quarter, and then halftime would be 5 minutes. And then the teams would end up switching sides at halftime. So, but no, that's a good question. You might find a kid that wants to play goalkeeper, and you're going to find some kids that don't want to play goalkeeper. But I think it's good to kind of encourage the kids that are willing to do it to give it a try. Goal kicks and corner kicks, those are also a dribble or a pass restart. On a goal kick, the ball is placed on top of the goal arc. So we don't have a rectangle, that's in front of the goal, but it's a goal arc. The ball is just placed on top of the goal arc. The defending team retreats to the center line and may pressure as soon as the ball is touched and moves. So goal kicks, the opposing team needs to stand, retreat back to the center line. It's kind of like no pressing, or we want to give the team taking the goal kick an opportunity to work the ball up, clear it away from their goal. And that's where earlier, when the goalkeeper collects the ball, picks the ball up in their hands, the defending team the team without the ball does not need to retreat in that situation. So somebody has their mic or their mic on. Let's see. Teams alternate taking the kickoff each quarter. So at the start of the game, the referee will help decide who's going to take the kickoff. Should be a coin toss, or the referee saying, okay, home team, or visiting team, you get to kick off. So it might be something like that. And alternate takes, so the red team kicks off the first quarter. That means that the blue team would kick off the second quarter. Third quarter would begin with the red team, and then blue and so it rotates like that. At halftime, the teams switch sides. The teams on the sideline stay on the same half of the field. That's kind of another important point that's in the general rules, is that the teams are on one side of the field and the fans are on the opposite side, the fans and the parents. So the fans and the parents don't sit right with the team. It's a little bit of a distraction. It's good to have the coach just with the players on the same side. After a goal is scored, there's a kickoff at the center line. And then also kickoffs can be dribbled or passed.
What are you doing?
The restart. So a kid could just take the kickoff and just start dribbling it all the way and then shoot it at the goal. They don't need to pass it to another player. When dribbling a restart, so the restarts are kickoff, goal kick, corner kick, or from the sideline, the ball cannot be shot and scored without touching another player first. A player could dribble, so the exception, a player could dribble and score without passing or without the ball touching another player. And then it says there are no direct free kicks, only indirect free kicks. Penalty kicks do not apply. So when a foul is committed on the field, so there's a trip, or there's, let's say, a handball or pushing or something of that nature, all of those fouls or infractions result in an indirect free kick, which means an indirect free kick is when the player cannot just from that spot shoot the ball into the goal and score. So it would need to touch another player. And then penalty kicks, there's not, if there's a foul within the goal arc area, there's not a penalty kick. Indirect free kicks resulting from fouls and penalties cannot be dribbled. So here's an exception to a restart. The indirect free kick just needs to be passed. Okay, any questions so far? Or now? As people are thinking about this.
Hey, Mike, I have a question for you.
Sure.
when dribbling or restart, the ball cannot be shot and scored without touching another player first. But then a player could dribble and score without passing or without the ball touching another player. So that's kind of saying two things there, or is it two different?
It's a little bit confusing. I'm wondering, it's caused some confusion in the past and I've tried to clarify it. It should probably be without touching another player. Well, here it says cannot be shot and scored without touching another player. So just from a stop, it cannot be like a shot and a score. But by dribbling the ball, the indirect kind of is satisfied. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So just shooting the ball is not okay, but dribbling. So
So
the
maybe
example
the
is
ball
maybe,
cannot
let's say
be
on a
shot from a restart directly.
from a restart. So let's say on a kickoff, the player could not shoot the ball from the center line and have it go in the goal and it be a goal without anyone touching it.
But they
the
could
player
dribble and then score.
But the player could dribble, once, twice, a few times closer, and then shoot and score, and that would be fine. So hopefully that helps. But the another player, and that's where it used to be this, and then I had added this. So a player could dribble and score without passing. But no, that's a good question. Another question that has come up, there's no punting by the goalkeepers. A punt is considered a drop kick. So hold the ball out in front and then let it fall and then kick it before it hits the ground. But it's also, if you were to drop the ball, have it bounce off the ground and then kick it, that would also be considered really punting the ball. Most of the young kids are, probably first graders aren't maybe going to be quite that adept at, doing something like that. But opposing players must stand a minimum of 4 yards from the spot of a restart in grades 1 and 2 and 5 in grades 3 through 4. So that's essentially the distance of the arc. So just allowing people that are trying to put the ball back into place have some space. So as a coach, well, I'll make that comment after we finish here, but either team can substitute at any stoppage, any goal kick, corner kick, pass in, goal scored, etc. Note, no substitution is allowed on restarts after fouls unless substituting an injured player. So, substitution, you'd let the, hey, referee, I'd like the sub, and they would blow your whistle and kind of allow for you to do that. So play would be stopped. Substitutions are not just during the course of play while the game is going on, to be putting players on and taking players off. So that there is no limit on substitutions. It's a good question. In all grades 1 through 8 here, there's no limit on substitutions, like the number of players that could be substituted or the number of times that you could substitute. Maybe a good, for those that have enough players, it might be, hey, you're going to substitute halfway through the quarter, 5 minutes in, or you'll see if your players are getting tired and they need to be subbed more frequently than that. I would say that if you have substitutes waiting to go in to play the game, you definitely want to put them in each quarter. So I would not recommend, if you had 6 players and 3 are playing for first grade, that the first 3 play the whole first quarter, and then the next 3 play the whole second quarter, and then rotate it. I would not recommend that. So the kids will get tired, but you really want to have every player playing in each quarter. And that is a rule. This is a recreational league, a community league. So all the players should play at least half the game, unless you have maybe 7 players and 3 are playing, then it's difficult to get exactly half. But players should have, for the most part, equal playing time. If you don't have double the number of players, well, then some players are going to get more playing time than others. They'll have that opportunity, and then that's fine. But kind of the minimum amount of playing time for a player should be half of the game. So to kind of keep that in mind as you're coaching. Offside penalties do not apply. So there's no offsides for grades 1 through 4. They can stand anywhere on the field. Red and yellow cards are not used for grades 1 through 4 either. And then the competitiveness rule, there's a competitiveness rule. It applies when a 3-goal differential is reached. The losing team may add 1 player. Players removed if the goal differential is less than 3. So let's say blue is playing gray and blue scores the first 3 goals of the game. And so then gray is allowed to add a player. So then it would be like 3-on-4. If gray scores a goal and it's 3-1, then the extra gray player would come off, and then it would be even 3-on-3. And so it would be kind of back and forth that way. There's a maximum of 1 player that can be added. If a team is behind more than 3 or behind 3, they do not have to add a player. It's just open as an option for them. Just because I think some coaches will say, hey, you know what, the game is pretty fair. It's just that, you know, one team is scoring more than the other, but every team has chances. They may say, hey, you know what, that's fine. Kind of rather play this way. Or it might be, you know what, the game is not that fair. It's one team is you know, doing really well and the other team is struggling. You know, then it maybe makes more sense, you know, to kind of have that extra player in there to help out. So any questions about the rules or what we've been talking about so far? One other thing that has come up, that as coaches, we do have a referee out there that is in charge of calling fouls in the game and managing the game. But as coaches, if you see your players doing something that is not right, if they are you know, fouling, or they're like trying to slide tackle or things like that, as a coach, you can, you know, help direct your players that behavior is not what they should be doing out on the field. Don't be the coach that, you know, just because the referee is allowing it or not calling fouls, we're just going to kind of keep pushing the limits, you know, until something is called, right? So the referees are learning. They're trying to get, you know, some of the newer referees are going to be working grades 1 through 2. The brand new referees are going to be working grades 1 through 2, or they maybe have a year of 1 or 2 at the most years of experience before they kind of move up to the grades 3 and 4. So there's a lot of learning going on. So yes, correct. Standing tackles only, no slide tackling until the 7th and 8th grade division. Just kind of a safety thing. But as coaches, you're trying to help your players understand what, you know, what things they can do on the field and what things that they cannot do out on the field. One of the things that I'll be encouraging the referees to do is, if there's a player, again, this is kind of the younger age groups, but, you know, we don't have cards, you know, things like that, but that a referee would be able to say, if a player just sort of ran, you know, is kind of playing more like a tackle football, like they're just running into players and knocking them over, or, you know, doing things like that. You know, a foul would be called, but the referee could say, hey, coach, you know, can you have this player sit out for a while and kind of talk to them and let them know that, you know, they can't play that way. So normally in with the older kids, you know, that's where some cards would come into play. But since we don't have them, that would be an appropriate request for the referee to make. Hey, coach, this player should sit out for a little while. They've done this, like, you know, very unacceptable foul like twice now, and it's very obvious that they're not quite sure what is allowed and what's not allowed. So as a coach, you can do that too. You see, you know, player doing that, you could substitute that player out. So not saying that would happen often, but, you know, potentially there are a couple players out there that, you know, they're still trying to learn what they can and cannot do. So someplace I'm gonna go next. So we've been looking at the rule modifications, but then I'll pull up the full rules document. And can people see the full rules document now? Maybe somebody just write in the chat or just say, can you see the full community league rules and guidelines document? Okay, great. So this is something that you also want to read through, have a read through. But the part that I'll maybe focus on here is just like what kind of equipment, what is required for players to wear. So it says all players must wear their team shirt provided for them. Shin protectors are required and must be fully covered by socks. So essentially, if a player is not wearing shin guards, the referee is should not allow them to play. And as a coach, you should not allow them to play either. It's just kind of a safety thing. They have to be fully covered by socks, so they would need soccer socks. Shirts should be tucked into shorts. It says must be tucked into shorts. Invariably, they come untucked. It's okay. Athletic pants or shorts preferred should be worn. So if it's cold out, the first, couple games here in spring, it's common to see players wearing sweatpants. The players don't have to wear shorts if it's 30 or 40 degrees out. So it should be worn. Players should have shorts without pockets, belt loops, snaps, or zippers, as they could pose a safety hazard to themselves or other players. Coaches will be notified, but players will be allowed to play. So, wearing pockets, having those things, they can still play. No jewelry, so no earrings, watches, necklaces, etc. will be allowed. So before a player can play, they have to take those things out. So if a player maybe as recently had their ears pierced, they need to have those earrings out before the game starts during the course, and they can put them back in. Every year we run into it, somebody's maybe had their ears recently pierced, and they say they can't take them out. Well, they can. It just might be a little tender to kind of put them back in. The holes aren't going to close up in an hour's time. It's really a safety thing. Players cannot put tape around their earrings. If the ball hits them in the head, it's still going to hurt. So medical alert bracelets are an exception. It must be taped to the wrist hand. Medical alert necklaces must be removed. No baseball caps, bandanas, or spray hair dyes allowed. However, sweatbands are okay if they do not pose a safety hazard. The goalkeeper may wear a baseball cap if the sun affects their vision. So if kind of the sun is in their eyes, that's probably more common with the older kids. Sweatpants may be worn during cold weather. Hoods must be tucked in. So if there's a hood, it just needs to be tucked into the back of their shirt. All right, thanks, Tino. Only soccer shoes or gym shoes are allowed. So cleats are most common. If a player doesn't have cleats, they have tennis shoes or gym shoes. That's fine to wear. Metal cleats of any type are not allowed. And this says soccer shoes. So when the referees inspect the players before the start of the game, they'll look and say, do they have earrings in? Please tuck in your shirts maybe. And they'll ask, everybody tap your shin guards. And then they'll ask to see the foot of the players, see the bottom of the shoe. If the shoe has a toe cleat. And soccer, some are kind of questionable with soccer now. But if it's a baseball cleat or a football cleat, it's a very pronounced cleat in the front of the toe, on the bottom, of course. Casts, if padded, are allowed, or casts, if padded, are allowed if they do not present a safety risk to other players. So that's where maybe, I forget, it's maybe like, let's say, an inch of padding. So if they don't have an official like padded cast, it might be something where you can wrap, a couple of sweatshirts, a sweatshirt or two around it to kind of help with that. Hard knee braces posing a safety risk to other players are not allowed. So some knee braces are allowed. Players wearing clothing that may pose a safety risk to themselves or other players are not allowed to play. So, and then it goes through rainouts and cancellations. It said it'll be announced. The play information, here's where it shows how long the games are for each of the different grades, what size ball should be getting used, the number of players that should be out on the field. Goes through playing time. All players are to play a minimum of 1/2 of the regulation game time, also to appear in each half. So quarters if they're playing quarters. Coaching from the sidelines. This is where you have to stay on your half. So, coach, if they're on the east side of the field, they cannot, walk over onto the other team's half of the field and then down to help coach their team. You have to stay kind of in your area. Coaches are not allowed on the field to play unless to help out a player that's been injured after the referee has contacted them. So stay on your side of the field unless the referee were to motion you on. Let's see, substitutions we talked about, start a play, pass back. Heading is not allowed for grades 1 through 4. It's only allowed in the 7th and 8th grade games. Slide tackling is not allowed unless it's 7th and 8th grade games. And this is, they should be called for foul if kids are slide tackling. It talks about throw-ins, goal kicks, keeper possession, corner kicks, offsides. And again, these things don't apply through grades, or some of these things don't apply in grades 1 through 4. Kind of what things result in fouls. So kicking an opponent or trips or attempts to trip an opponent, jumping at an opponent, charging an opponent, striking an opponent, pushing an opponent, tackling, holding. And then some of the other things what the goalkeeper can do. A goalkeeper can pick up the ball, but if they put it back down on their feet, they can't pick it back up again. Okay. Let's see. So I encourage everybody to read through all of this a little bit more closely. Cards, other things, and then some very specific or niche things here. Any questions on the rules or kind of the player equipment? Okay. Let's see, one other thing that I would offer. If any of you are, maybe let's say your team is not able to play a game, like you're not going to have enough players. People have, so it's a good thing as a coach to reach out to your team each week and say, okay, here's when our game is. Please let me know if you cannot attend the game, so that you'll know, hey, you know what, I might not have enough players, so that you don't make a trip out of town to only to show up with only 2 players. So that's something to kind of get that type of communication going with your parents. But then if you're not able to play a game, that's something that you would need to let me know as the league director. Let your club president or club leader know, I'm that person, that Sheboygan Community League contact for Sheboygan. And then everybody has their contacts, but let them know that. And then we have to make sure that both teams, you'd reach out to the other coach and let them know, but then also to let me know so that we can have the game schedule updated and the referees notified that they don't need to show. It is generally up to teams to try to figure out, if they'd want to find a way to reschedule the game, but generally do kind of whatever you can to have that game occur. Just because the coach is not available a weekend, if there's still enough players to play the game, you'd want to do that and see if you could find somebody to coach the game for you. So, any questions maybe that any of you have? Either about information that I have presented or information that we've not talked about, but that you're just kind of wondering about. I would say it's good practice if you have a 9 o'clock game to, well, it's good practice to always check the game schedule. You might get the game schedule right away now at the start of the season, but it's good each week to kind of go back and just verify that nothing has changed. If a game does change, and the system is set up, you should receive an email or some form of notification. But it's just good practice to kind of check that each week just to make sure. Encourage your players to show up before the game is start time. So I would say at least 15 minutes before the game, your players should start showing up, so that you don't have kids running up right at the start of the game or a few minutes late. That just makes, I don't know, things confusing if you're going to have enough players or where everybody is. So I asked them to be there at least 15 minutes early. And yeah, if there are things that, you know, I don't know, there's, you know, if some of your fans are, you know, happen to be, or players' parents are yelling at the referee, or if, you know, if a field is like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like be problem solvers out there. You know, kind of help the referee, you know, help make sure that your players' parents are under control and behaving appropriately. All those sorts of things. Encourage, if you see a player try to hang on a goal, tell them not to do that. That's a safety issue. So those sorts of things. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share. Again, any general questions? Okay, if nothing else, the session is recorded. We'll make it available. If anybody has any questions throughout the course of the season, reach out to kind of your club leadership or me, and we'll try to get those questions answered. All right, have a good night, everybody. Sorry for the late start.